In this training video, we're going to examine the various ways you can navigate within a Bible or a book. Let's begin first with two resources. At the right, I have a Bible, and at the left, I have a book. Now, we're going to enable the navigation toolbar. To do this, we need to go to the three vertical dot menu, the option menu, or I like to affectionately call it the stoplight menu. Let's click that for each book. We've clicked it, and then choose from the menu Show Locator Bar. Notice the keyboard shortcut you can use for your PC or Mac. You now can see the locator bar listed right here. Let's repeat this procedure for the other book. We'll click the stoplight menu, then we'll click Show Locator Bar. Now, this locator bar is very important because it provides us with one of the navigational tools for navigating a book. And it's right here, located to the right of each book. Now notice that one says verse, one says article. Let's click the menu and explore this. Let's begin with the Bible. We'll click article. Notice we have article, book, chapter, and verse. Then to the right of this drop-down menu, we have an up arrow and a down arrow. Let's choose verse first. We click on verse, and we now see verse in the box, and I'm going to click the down arrow. We're now at Ephesians 2:14. If we look at our Bible reference box, that's where we are in the Bible. If we click it again, it's Ephesians 2:16. So we're moving one verse at a time. If we click on the verse, drop-down menu, and choose chapter, if we click the down arrow button, we should now be at chapter 3. And if we click the down arrow again, chapter 4. Let's click on chapter and choose book. Right now we're in Ephesians. If we click it again, we're now in Philippians. So you can see how this navigational menu can be very helpful. Now here's the tip. Only use this if you are jumping on a regular basis from one place to the other. If you don't tend to use this on a regular basis, it's best to leave it at the verse level. Now, the advantage of this is it helps you avoid using the vertical scroll bar here at the right. If you float your mouse on the vertical scroll bar and try to move it, you can see the Bible jumps around quite a bit. It's very hard to finesse this to move incrementally verse by verse. So I really don't recommend navigating any book in Logos using the vertical scroll bar. Therefore, use this tool. Now, there's a second way to navigate in a book, in a Bible particularly, and that's with the Bible reference box. You just simply type in the passage and go. And as we've showed in earlier videos, all you need is the first couple letters of a book, space, type in the chapter number, hit space again, no need for a colon or a period, and type in the verse number. Then, once you finish typing the location, Logos will provide a drop-down menu to confirm what you typed in. We want Genesis 1:1, so we'll click Genesis 1:1. The third way to navigate a book is through the actual table of contents. To access the table of contents, you can click right here on the hamburger menu, the three horizontal lines. You click that, and now you will see the whole table of contents for the whole book. The vertical scroll bar is essential for using the table of contents. That'll quickly allow you to navigate and move through the table of contents quite quickly. Now, Logos will keep track on what is open and closed within the table of contents. So here we have the book of Genesis. It's expanded to the first level, so we can see Genesis and chapter 1. If we click the triangle, it will collapse it. It's my recommendation that you try to keep these as collapsed as often as possible. This will make it easier to find your location in the Bible. So I've gone through and we've minimized all of them. Now let's position ourselves into Genesis. Here we are, Genesis 1:1. And I'm going to scroll to verse 2. Notice the table of contents didn't do anything. We can't see any kind of visualization to let us know that we're in the book of Genesis. But if we click Genesis and expand it, now we can see Genesis 1 is highlighted. So we're in chapter 1. So that's just a little visual cue to help you know where you are. Notice also the little orange line. That's also to let you know. So if we jump to Genesis, let's say chapter 3, you can see now the highlight and the vertical orange bar. So those are the three primary ways in which you can navigate within a book. There's one other one that I think is important, and you're used to this if you've done any surfing with any internet browser, and it's these controls right here. These are the back and forward button. They retrace the steps that you've been using with this particular book. So the one to the left is going to take you to the previous places. If we hit the left arrow, you can see we're back at Genesis 1:1. And now the right arrow has been enabled. If we click that, it enables us to go forward. Also to the right is a panel history. And if we click that drop-down triangle, it will represent your most frequent locations. Now let's go over to the Bible Knowledge Commentary, a non-Bible book, and let's explore these. Now if we click on the verse drop-down menu, you'll notice that we have article, book, chapter, verse, and filter highlight. And that appeared because we have a filter in this resource. I'm going to click that one, and then I'm going to hit the down arrow. And there we go. We see anathema, one of my highlights. So this can be really handy if you're just trying to find places in your book that you've noted as something significant with a highlight. So be aware of that capability. As far as the other options, they work pretty much the same. Let me click on article and hit the drop-down arrow. You can see here we're in Acts 23:14. We click it again and it goes to Acts 23:16. So it's really jumping from paragraph to paragraph. If we click on book, we'll go from Acts to Romans. If we click on chapter, it'll be Romans chapter 1. And notice this, it went from 1:18 to 3:20. This is acting very similar to the other resource. So let me make a comment here. Depending on how Logos has created the book, this may jump to the actual chapter or it may jump to the major sections. So be aware of that little nuance. And then verse by verse will go verse by verse. And again, depending on how that book was created, it may actually act like the other two searches that we ran. Just like the other Bible, we have the hamburger menu at the top left. If you click that, you get access to the table of contents to let you know where it is. Now again, we're in currently Romans 1:18, so let's scroll down to Romans and see how Logos visualizes this. Now I'm going to float my mouse between the table of contents and the contents of the book. You'll notice that the mouse changes to a double arrow. That allows me to left click and scroll to the right so I can see more of the table of contents. As you can see, this is a much more in-depth table of contents. A significant hierarchy is here. And right away we can see with the visual highlight, the highlight here, A for suppressing God's truth, and we can see again that orange vertical line. So be aware that the same process works. But if we minimize it, we do at least at the table of contents level, we can see that highlight. So that can be very useful. My advice when working with the table of contents is always look first in the reference box to know where you are. That'll make it easier to quickly jump to that section in the table of contents. And like the Bible, we do have the navigational history here at the top right. We have the back arrow. Let's click that once, and it takes us back to where we just were. We now can see the forward arrow. Let's click that, and we've navigated back to where we once were. If we click the triangle, we can see the panel history, and there's our locations we previously visited. So as you can see, navigating these books is pretty straightforward. Now, with the Bible Knowledge Commentary, or most resources, if we click in it, you'll see that we get the location. This is a versified book, so we can't type Bible verses, but we also get volumes and page numbers. This is really important to be aware of, that sometimes Logos will put both volumes or multi-volumes into one resource. So you have to keep in mind of that. So if we were typing, let's say, volume 1, page 200, and if that's a valid volume and a valid page number, you will see the drop-down menu, and you can click and go right to that section. So be aware of that capability. Now, one other feature I want to go back to our Bible that I think is important to know when it comes to navigation is with the Bibles, you can actually type in a section title. So for example, if I were to type in Nicodemus, and even the first few letters, a drop-down menu appears letting me know that I have a section with Nicodemus in the name. And here we have Christ's witnesses to Nicodemus. That's the John 3 chapter. So we don't need to know just the verse. If we know the section title, we can use that information as well. And we only need a portion of that title. So this is a wonderful feature to use. Now, if we go over back to our Bible Knowledge Commentary and we do the same thing, lo and behold, because it's versified, we can do the same thing. So we can click on that and navigate to it. So when it comes to versified books, commentaries, Bibles, etc., you can see that there's some overlapping navigational features. Very handy. Well, I hope that will help you navigate your books a little bit easier the next time you use them.